Tuesday.
Listening to BBC Radio Scotland with Laura McGee on Wednesday the 19th of February. On the phone in this morning, do we stereotype older people? The Women's and Equalities Committee at Westminster has criticised depictions of older people as frail, helpless or incompetent, or conversely, as wealth-hoarding boomers. So, do we have an issue with age discrimination? Call me this morning, 08885 92 95 00, or text 80295. Your standard network message rate applies, of course. That's our phone-in topic. Please get involved in the conversation. Would love to hear from you this morning. Also coming up between now and noon on the programme. Stars Amy Dowden and Carlos Gu on bringing their new dance show to Scotland.
Should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it?
The Court of Karen returns with another humdrum conundrum. Karen presents the case. You decide the verdict this week. Should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it? Text your thoughts to 80295 or WhatsApp 08885 92 95 00. And
2 days later, being charged with €1,200. I didn't get any.
People I bought the flooring from have gone quiet on me, so I'm just really unsure as to what action to take next.
Scott Dixon, the complaints resolver, is here with our weekly consumer surgery. Whether it's rip-offs, refunds or knowing your rights, Scott can answer all your questions. So text 80295 or call WhatsApp 08885 92 95 00 to get some advice off him. Plus,
math is a
really cool thing. How do we stop our kids inheriting our maths anxiety? Do you have maths anxiety? Stay tuned for that. And
what you say about my mama?
our headphones changing the way we hear. That's all after the phone in this morning. Do we have a problem with age discrimination?
And live from BBC Pacific Quay.
Across the United Kingdom and the world.
This is what they want.
This.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for being my company on the programme this morning. Laura McGee here with you all the way until midday. On the phone-in, I am asking, do we stereotype older people? Do we have an issue with age discrimination? Why are we talking about this today? Well, a report from the Women's and Equalities Committee at Westminster is calling for action to tackle age discrimination, which MPs describe as widespread in the UK. They criticise depiction of baby boomers. And by the way, a baby boomer is someone born between 1946 and 1964 and who is now in their 60s and 70s. They criticise depictions of baby boomers as either frail or enjoying a life of luxury at the expense of their children and grandchildren. How does that make you feel when you hear that? The report also hits out at what the authors say was a failure by previous governments to address digital exclusion of older people as services, particularly around banking and health, increasingly move online. We've spoken about this before, haven't we? People having some difficulties getting access to their own money because everything has gone online. So this morning I want to hear from you. I would love to hear your experiences. Are boomers really living in luxury? Is that the reality of your life? Is that the reality of your parents' life, of your grandparents' life? Or, conversely, are you a younger person who has experienced age discrimination? We'll also touch upon digital exclusion as well this morning because I'd be really, really interested to hear your thoughts on that. So, do get involved in the conversation. Have your say. Give me your opinion. The number to call me on is 08085 92 95 00 and the number to text me on is 80295. Let's listen and speak to a caller immediately on the programme. It's Ian from the Black Isle. Hi, Ian.
Oh, morning, Laura.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely fine as a 72-year-old.
Wonderful. 72 years young. Wonderful. Thank you so much for getting involved in the conversation, Ian. So what would you like to say?
Well, in best political terms, I just don't recognise that description of elderly, to be honest. Yes, I have a few friends who are a wee bit frail, but they ask for help, and I've got a few friends who are quite wealthy, but by God, they work for it. And basically, we were brought up in an era where you just dealt with things as your mother and father did. And that's basically life as it is. I mean, at the moment, I'm an amputee. I drive. I take my dog for walks. I went offshore for 35 years, sometimes with broken ribs, fractured ankle. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. Didn't complain. But the youngsters these days, oh my goodness, I've got a headache, I can't go to work. You know, oh dear, dear, poor souls. I just don't recognise that description at all.
So you think that actually there's maybe discrimination against older generations, but only because the younger generations don't quite understand what it is to do a lot of these things, to work hard, in your opinion, to get on with it, as you were saying?
Well, the problem is they don't get a chance, and I'm generalising here, the youngsters don't get a chance to mix with us older folks, if you like, put it that way. And they're just living on something that they've heard or they just believe because they see us. I mean, I've got a walking stick. They'll see me with a walking stick and think, oh, poor old soul, if only they knew. If only they knew.
That's quite an interesting point you're making there, Ian. So you don't think that there's actually enough communication, enough conversation happening between generations for people to understand exactly what others have gone through?
No, it's just an image they see. I mean, they see old folk, and we're getting old, we're getting bald, we're getting a wee bit overweight, and all that. And most of us are limping, most of us need hips. And, oh, by the way, I've had a hip as well. I'm probably needing a new knee as well. But, that's what life deals you. You get on with it.
Yeah.
And I just can't be bothered with this young generation of everything handed to them, and when they don't get it, it's woe and thrice woe. And life doesn't owe you anything. You have to work for it.
What would you say, Ian, to those that are probably listening to you right now, younger people, and thinking, well, he doesn't understand my life?
I've got 3 children. I've got 3 daughters in their 30s and 40s. I know very well what they're going through. They don't understand. Because they don't mix with the older folk, they don't know what we're going through. And they don't like the fact that we get on with it.
It's interesting,
they seem to have a dislike of people that just get on with life and don't ask for more, don't get on to whoever for this, that and t'other, Am I wealthy? I'm comfortable, but my goodness, I work for it. I'm not hoarding wealth. If owning your own house is hoarding wealth, then I'm hoarding wealth. But my goodness, you want to maintain an old croft house. You want to maintain that for 30 or 40 years. You want to pay the council tax on that. You want to rod your own septic tank because you're not entitled to get sewage, main sewage. My road's not adopted, so I've got a dirt track up to my house. I'm not complaining. It's what I chose. But they probably think I'm hoarding wealth because I've got a house and I've got some nice things in the house.
So just before I let you go, Ian, do you think then this report from the Commons Women and Equalities Committee is calling for action to tackle age discrimination? Do you think that is something that needs to be done, or do you think it maybe might not make a difference if it's something that younger generations just inherently feel about older generations, in your opinion?
Everything comes back to education and understanding. If you're not taught about old people, and the old people are not taught about the youngsters, then we have this image of the youngsters, which is probably wrong, and they have a completely wrong idea of what elderly people are and what they're going through.
Ian?
So we have to educate them. It all starts with education and understanding, and you can only do that, in my opinion, is by meeting people.
Ian, thank you very much for that. Meeting people from different walks of life, different generations. Thank you very much for giving us your time this morning on BBC Radio Scotland. Really interesting to hear Ian's thoughts there. If you agree, get in touch, 80295, or you can phone me, of course, 08085 92 95 00. Let's speak to Professor Sir Gary Cooper. Hi there, Professor. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, Laura. Thank you very much. And I'm a baby boomer too, so I have my own views.
You are the aforementioned baby boomers that we're talking about this morning. So just to recap for people who have just joined us on the programme, we're talking about whether or not we stereotype older people. The Women's Inequality Committee at Westminster has criticised depictions of older people as frail, helpless or incompetent, or conversely as wealth hoarding boomers. We're talking about baby boomers this morning. So, Professor, what do you think about this? You've obviously worked in this field, organisational psychology and health at the University of Manchester Business School. So, what are your thoughts on age discrimination?
Well, I think we see it in the workplace, but I think we've seen it a long time. This is not something that's new. I think ever since we've had the technology age of this, let's say the last decade and a half, and what we're going to experience now with AI going forward is going to be phenomenal. I think the perception is, and this is a perception by senior management, is that older workers won't be able to deal with the tech world we're living in. In other words, particularly AI, but all of it, that they're not capable. Not that they're not capable or prepared to learn. It's, I think, the stereotype. This is a young person's area. This is a young person's experience. They've had techie experience being on social media platforms. They know it all, and they'll be able to adapt to it. And older people won't be able to adapt to it. Totally wrong. They certainly could adapt to it, and if they want to, if they choose to, and I think so. I think there's been a subtle this form of discrimination among older workers for a hell of a long time. This is not a new phenomenon. And the issue about also the other thing that strikes me about what that committee said was, that the baby boomers are so well off, that they really shouldn't get the triple lock pension. Incidentally, our pensions are one of the worst in Europe. Among the big countries like France, Germany, our pensions are appalling, really. Think about it. Yes, baby boomers probably paid their mortgage off, right? If they had a house, right? But then they get the £11,000 a year to live on. And how much does it cost for electricity, gas, water? £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 a year? Unless they just want to put on lots of coats and, that stuff. So I don't think the majority aren't better off. People like me are, because I'm professional, I had an occupational pension, right? But a lot of people don't have final salary pensions. A lot of the vast majority do not. They live on their state pensions. And yes, as your previous speaker said, they have bought a house. They don't have a mortgage, but a lot of them live on the state pension and meager savings. So I don't think they are well off. And I think the notion that the triple lock gives them some great advantage is just not accurate. It doesn't give them a great advantage when you compare them against the French, Germans, and many other countries where, the pensions are double what we pay. So I'm in the workplace, I worry about it because I think we need all the talent we can get. The big B word, Brexit, meant we lost a lot of people going back to Poland, Romania, etc. And we have less talent here. So we need to use and explore and exploit all the talent we have. And older workers are fantastic. They're highly committed. They'll work long hours. They're prepared to learn. But we have to unlock that obstacle, which is the perception that they're not capable of dealing with new technology.
Yeah, it seems to me that a lot of this comes down to perception. People making assumptions.
I agree.
People assuming that somebody can do something or can't do something because of their age. And that works both ways as well, doesn't it, Professor?
Yeah, absolutely. But they also have the perception that they're going to get ill. That, oh, God, if we let this guy stay on till the 70s, I'm 80 and I'm still working. I mean, we can. Yeah, sure, we're going to have, but everybody has problems with health, no matter, it's not just the older workers that have health-related problems. So I think these perceptions are the thing that are getting in the way. How do you change the perception? Is it education, or is it giving people the opportunities, giving older workers the opportunities and the training that they need with the new technology, like we all need? Even younger generations need the new technology training, particularly in respect of AI. Come on, give it to them. See how they perform.
Yeah.
And retain them.
Yeah.
And we have to just be innovative. We need all the talent we can get. We need more women in the workplace. We need older workers in the workplace. We don't have enough people to do the kind of growth agenda that the government constantly espouses.
Yeah, you're totally right about the technology aspect of things, because I know how to do more things than my mum on my mobile phone, but I don't know how to do half the things that a 15-year-old can do on their phone. So it's every age group has to learn new things, no matter what it is. So it's important to point that out, that it's not just older generations that don't know how to do some things or might need a bit more work in learning how to do these things. We all do to some extent. Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Sir Carrie Cooper there, Professor of Organisational Psychology and Health at the University of Manchester Business School. Thank you very much. What do you think about what the Professor said there? Is it all down to perception? Are we just looking at somebody and completely stereotyping them, completely assuming what they can and what they can't do, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of? Are we guilty of doing that, every single one of us? Let me know your thoughts this morning. 08085 92 95 00. Right, next up, let's speak to Christine Jardine, who's a Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Women and Equalities. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Laura. Good morning. I should also point out I'm also on the Women and Equalities Committee.
Okay, so, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
No, it's
but
okay.
We've cleared it up now. Thank you very much, Christine. So what's your experience of this, both in terms of work, in terms of your own personal life? What are your thoughts on age discrimination?
Oh, I think it's widespread, and I think we actually don't realise we're doing it. I think we're all guilty of it, including myself. And what we found on the committee when we listened to the evidence was that there is a sort of pervasive ageist culture that we regard elderly, which again, has become a pejorative term, as failing and being frail, and we think that sort of our existing attitudes and things are letting people down, because we're not focusing on the abilities of older people, and we're stereotyping them, and we think they're frail, helpless, or incompetent, and also the baby boomers are somehow wealthy. So it's just something which is highly prevalent in society, but also in the media, and that's a significant contributory factor. We need, and one of the things we've called for is for Ofcom to look at the ways of tackling ageist attitudes, ageist portrayals on television programmes, ageist, advertising in the media. And also we need to have a better, we think that, you just mentioned it yourself, and I'm guilty of it, we assume that older people are not going to be good with technology. And that's not necessarily the case. Some of the most capable people I know were, well into their 30s before everybody started carrying a mobile phone. Yeah. So I think we do have this attitude. I've been guilty of it myself. I freely confess that. I've been a victim of it myself. I think it doesn't just apply to elderly people. I think we tend to judge people by their age generally, and we have to do something to get away from that.
Why do you think we do that, though? Why do we think we make such a blanket assumption on someone just because of their age? I guess if we were talking about it in the other way, if a young person was to walk into an office, you would assume that they're not able to do some elements of the job because they've not worked as long as an older person. But that's not true. And also they can bring so much more to some of these roles. So why do you think we just make blanket assumptions on what people are capable of when it comes to age?
Oh, if I knew the answer to that, that's a great question. I just wish I knew the answer to it, because we do. We go into any workplace and immediately we see, I don't think I've been as guilty of it since I got older, but I really confess I was probably guilty of it when I was young and just didn't realise that, maybe if I went into a workplace, I'd look round and think, oh, well, that person's, they're over 50, they're probably, sort of stuck in their ways and going to retire soon. And, that person's young, they probably don't know as much as that person over there in their 40s. And it's all wrong, because as you say, you can have the most talented young person coming into an office, and the person that they can learn most from is probably the person who's been there longest, who can help them develop those skills and build on them, because none of us are the finished article, and become better. And at the same time, they can bring in, we've been talking about new technology. The latest technology. I think it was either yourself or your previous guest said, I'm better than, say, my mother, but not as good as my daughter. We can use those different ages, different experiences to help one another to reach the same sort of level and to improve. But we don't do it. We make snap judgments. That person is over 60, therefore they'll know less about the internet. That's rubbish. People who are in their, I would say, their early 60s to mid-60s were the very people who were the first ones to cotton on to the value of the internet and what it could actually bring to different workplaces, who adapted in, say, journalism. I was a journalist, adapt to the difference between sitting at a typewriter every day and typing on bits of paper to being able to use the full kind of publishing power of computers on your desk. So every age has something to pass on to somebody else. One of the things that we felt in the committee is that we need to develop this. We need to get over it, and we need to get the European Human Rights Convention to help us in this country to invest in encouraging better attitudes towards specifically old people, but all ages in general, and to be more inclusive.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, and it kind of, in a way, is relevant to what Ian, our first caller of the morning, was saying. Ian from the Black Isle. He was talking about how there isn't as much communication between generations anymore. Maybe the attitudes between different generations have become strained because they don't spend any time together. Society isn't as cohesive as it maybe once was. Do you think there's something in that?
I think so. I wouldn't have thought about it, but now, when you mention it, I do remember that certainly when I was younger, we had, grandparents about the house, elderly people, and I'm sure families still do that. But I think in the workplace, we tend to sort of militate towards our own age group because we have things in common. If you were, an adult in the early 20s, in the early 2000s, you saw Friends, for example, going out the first time, and you remember that everybody was excited by Friends. A younger generation will see Friends as an old comedy on television, so they, you have different things to talk about, and you see things from different perspectives. So in a way, it's natural that you militate towards your own age group because they have, a shared experience. But we do need to make more effort to get together with different ages and employers. And it's one of the things, again, in the report, we talk more about the need to bring people together, for Ofcom to think more about communication between age groups and, having a different portrayal of age groups right across the media. What they're talking about in England is having a commission to look at this problem specifically, because they already have one in Wales. Now, there'll be different ideas about whether or not commissions are a good idea, or whether we've maybe already got an surfeit of them in Scotland. But I do think that we need to make much more of an effort, because the other thing is, if we don't get past this ageism thing that elderly people are frail and incapable, the demographic is changing and we are losing a huge potential workforce and contributing group to society who have a lot to contribute. They can teach us a lot and they can do a lot, and their attitudes and their experience are things that we can learn from.
OK, thank you very much for that. Christine Jardine, Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Women and Equalities. Thank you very much to everyone who's been in touch with the programme already this morning. There is plenty of time for you to have your say, so get in touch. 08085 92 95 00. You're listening to Mornings with Laura McGee on BBC Radio Scotland.
A coach with a teaching style all his own. Check it out with a quick take from the Mighty Ducks.
Why don't you play for us? I can't. What do you mean you can't? I mean, I can't. Are you afraid? No, I mean, I really can't, you moron. I don't know how to skate. Whoa. Is that all that's stopping you?
Order in crowd-pleasing fun on Viewer's Choice Pay-Per-View.
Still to come. Amy Dowden and Carlos Gu are going to be with us on the programme. They're going to be talking about their new dance show that they have brought to Scotland, so stay tuned for that.
Call now 08085 92 95 00.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Good morning, everyone. It is 9:25. This is BBC Radio Scotland Mornings with Laura McGee today. Thank you very much for your company. We have already had some really interesting conversations with some of our callers and our guests already today. If you want to get in touch with the programme, if you have something to say about whether or not we stereotype older people, do we have issues with age discrimination, then the number to call me on is 08085 92 95 00. You can also text me on 80295. Apologies, 80295. I'm going to read out a couple of texts and then we're going to speak to Adam Statura, who's the Policy Director at Age Scotland. But a couple of people already in touch with us on the programme and similarly saying things in general that we stereotype everyone and everything. That's what Alexander said. Stephen saying stereotypes exist because to some extent they are true of the average. Roy in Perthshire, I agree with your first caller, Ian. That was Ian in the Black Isle. Roy is saying, I went offshore to the oil rigs aged 20 and learned from the experience of the higher skilled employees. 40 years on and 35 years on the oil rigs, I am now the older generation and still respect the elderly. Remember, many fought wars for us. Graham in Glasgow. Does the first caller not see the irony of what he is saying? He seems to not understand the younger generation and maybe just uses ridiculous stereotypes, no empathy. We also have one from Paul. Morning, Laura. I agree with the view of the chap from the Black Isle. That was Ian. We all need to be more understanding and tolerant. We should all try to walk in the shoes of other folk. But I also think that the modern rights mindset has a missing element. Rights come with responsibilities, which are often forgotten. This one is anonymous. When the folk of the older generations were young, rationing was still ongoing. They grew up in a country still reeling from war. As a result of this, they knew the values of things and possibly worked all their lives in the hope of a better future. Lay off them. They earned it. And just this last one before we speak to Adam. This is from David from Johnston, and he's put in brackets, still rocking at 64. Rock on, David. He's saying, interesting topic this morning. We have presidents across the world well into their 70s running countries. We have a Pope at 88 who, until his recent illness, was still offering thoughtful advice. Our best football managers and musicians are still cutting it in their 60s and beyond. So why not the rest of us? Interesting point. Thank you very much, David from Johnston, who is, and I repeat, still rocking at the age of 64. Thank you very much, everyone who has got in touch with us. The number to call 08085 92 95 00, and you can text 80295. Right, let's speak to Adam Statura, who is the Policy Director at Age Scotland. Hello there, Adam.
Morning, Laura. What a fascinating conversation you got going this morning.
Oh, it has been, hasn't it? Thank you very much for giving us your time as well. And, well, just tell me what you've thought about what you've heard already in the programme then.
Well, I suppose that the top line here is that the assertion that, older generations, older people are subject to high degrees of ageism is absolutely right, that we see that every single day in our work, and for decades and decades it has been the case. As I think when your first caller suggests, second caller, this is not an overnight phenomenon, but actually I think it's been getting worse in recent years. I can look to the research we've conducted at Age Scotland, for instance, over a couple of year period. So compared to 2021 at the back of the second national lockdown and COVID, there was actually quite a lot of good feeling and goodwill towards older people. But over time, older people have sort of felt that they're felt far less valued by society. So in the middle of 2023, only 13% of over 50s in Scotland felt they were valued by society, and that dropped from being almost 21% in 2021. But 66%, so 2/3, didn't feel valued by society. And actually, I think Christian Jardine made a very good point earlier on about perceptions in the media. And only 3% of older people in Scotland feel that they are represented positively in the media. And I think there are challenges across the place. Now, this is obviously not a crack at the BBC Scotland programme, because I think you're doing a really good job at raising these issues and talking about these types of things regularly. But there's certainly a societal challenge about how older people and younger people are portrayed. And I think it's just this element we all have to take into account, that we're always, ideally, fingers crossed, all going to be young, we're all going to be older, and it's going to come to us all, or has been with us all, and having a bit more kind of compassion for others is really, really helpful. And I don't think people would want to see themselves portrayed as, wealth hoarding as put in this report, or frail when they're not, And I think this perception of people really damages our society, our economy, actually, with the point of some of your earlier callers, but also just people's self-worth and impact on their health, impact on their confidence, and lots of other things from that. Ageism is really destructive.
Yeah, and certainly nobody wants to make someone else feel like they are less valued in our society. I don't imagine that anybody's going out their way to make someone feel like that, but nevertheless, it's obviously happening. What do you think then? So you mentioned COVID there, and you mentioned how after COVID, perhaps the way that older generations have been perceived has become a little bit more negative. Is that what you were saying there?
Yeah, it feels like from older people themselves, their
Right.
perception of it in particular, but you can certainly see stories and narratives in the last few years about older people, for instance, around COVID, that, the society lockdown for older people and the impact it's had on other folks. Well, that's, really quite a damaging and destructive assertion as well, but that becomes more prevalent. Look at what we did for older people to keep them safe. Well, my goodness, of course we should have, but it was also keeping everybody safe. So these types of perceptions, these generalities, but also I think from your professor earlier on talking about the talk we've had in the last probably 6 to 9 months about, the removal of the winter fuel payment and what the triple lock in state pensions looks like, seen as older people or pensioners were just getting lots of things that they don't deserve. And, we've got 15% of the population of our pensioners in Scotland live in poverty. More than half have incomes too low to qualify to pay for income tax. The biggest number of people and biggest proportion of people in our country, in Scotland, who are in fuel poverty are older people. Almost 4 in 10 and a quarter are in extreme fuel poverty. Healthy life expectancy is dropping. Life isn't good for many, many older people. Some are and will be comfortable or well off. And actually, for a lot of people, that should be an aspiration. But the reality for so many isn't. And looking through the generations, if you're younger, our aspiration should be that we should be able to live comfortably, financially secure, in a good home, stay warm, have good health. So I think when we're looking at older people, think that they're taking things, and actually people have earned a lot of this stuff. And if you're younger, you should care about these issues too, because you're going to rely on a state pension more than any other generation before you or before you. And also indeed having, when the kind of this entitlement structures are tinkered with, you're losing something as well. So it's not that you can give something to someone else. If you don't give it to them, you're going to get something better. That's not how government work. And I think that government also has a responsibility in this, in that I don't think there is enough focus by governments and by politicians in particular about older people themselves about trying to improve lives, because there is a perception that of this, baby boomer wealth, which isn't the reality. So they don't focus enough on trying to improve their lives. And I think we've got a long kind of term challenge to make sure the health and wealth of our nation is kind of improved and fixed. It's going to be really difficult to do.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting point. This idea that I think older generations, people see them more as this wealth hoarding boomer identity rather than what you're saying there, those that are in fuel poverty, people that are struggling. It's far more easier to stereotype older people, I think, having all the money. And I think as well, because in current society, a lot of younger people are struggling to buy a house, struggling to even rent, struggling to go to university, struggling to pay for things, to get jobs. They maybe are seeing a real unfairness when it comes to their generation versus the older generation, but it shouldn't be one v the other.
No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. But also, I think the perception about life being unfair when you're younger is absolutely fair. It's not easy being younger at all. It's harder to get in the property ladder. It's harder to maybe get the jobs that you were looking out for and really keen on. We know that ageism is prevalent in the workplace, and our research and polling would say that 1 in 5 adults in Scotland, younger and older, between 18 and much older, have said that they've basically been discriminated against and missed out on opportunities because of their age, and the vast majority is in the workplace. And we've also got to remember then that older people as well see a responsibility to younger people too. Our research is showing that 42% of over 50s in Scotland are assisting younger family members financially. Now, if they've got high incomes, over £50,000, that's more than 60% do so. But the thing which really caught me was that for those households with incomes of less than £10,000, hardly anything. A quarter of them are helping out younger generations financially. So even those with the least amount of money are making sure that younger generations are supported as well. So there is a responsibility we know that old people have and feel for younger generations as well. But the idea that all of a sudden we're just going to, the wealth that's built out in homes can suddenly just kind of be dispersed otherwise. Where on earth will older people live? For a lot of people, that might be their retirement savings as well, to be able to live for 20 or so years in retirement and later life. So there's lots of things we've just got, I think, wrong about what the reality is for people. But my goodness, I know that old people really, really care about younger generations too. So I think this generalisation we have is just really, really unhelpful. Of course it is. And it's not, not everyone will think that on an individual basis, but we can all have that bias and unconscious bias about age. I think Christine Jardine mentioned that earlier on as well, about walking into a room, seeing people and something, you've made a decision about somebody without getting to know them. And I think it's really important that we see people not just their age, younger or older or middle-aged.
Okay. Adam, thank you so much for giving us your time. Adam Statura there, Policy Director at Age Scotland. Really, really good points there. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk to another caller now. Krishna is with us in Glasgow. Hi there, Krishna.
Hello there, Laura. Good morning to you, and many thanks for having me today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for being involved in the programme. We want to hear everyone's thoughts, so thank you very much. Krishna, what have you got to say on this then?
Well, what I want to say is that anything I'm going to say is totally based on my own life experience, based on the experience of some of my friends and colleagues whom I know very well. I'm in that kind of age group, middle-aged plus, I would put myself in that kind of category. And I believe we are like, those actors, who sometimes we come on the stage, act, and then the rest of the time we basically go behind the screen, but yet still we pull the strings and do everything else for the others who are on the stage to act. That's the kind of role we have. So what I would say is our role in terms of basically the activities of the society, namely as a workforce or in supporting our younger folks, financially, physically and mentally, in every sense, our role is so important because, especially in today's world, where it's so challenging for everybody, the younger generation, they depend on us much more than what it was previously. And then, this idea of basically that those who are retired or those who are in the age group middle age to basically old age, they're enjoying their life and having a bit of luxury. It's not true at all. But what should be appreciated is it comes after a lot of hard work, for working about 40 to 45 years to get a very decent pension and to have some savings. And what the life we lead is kind of a moderate, decent life, but nothing of any luxury or extravagance at all. And if we take away our kind of society, our kind of age group from the equation, I think the whole thing will go out of balance, because the younger generation will be left without any support at all. Because, as I said, in today's world, they need our support financially. For example, to buy their houses, they need the deposit and whatnot. All that many times comes out of our savings. And then when they struggle to rent a place or anything like that, they come and live with us, which is wonderful. We love it. And then the third thing is the mental, the mental illness is so much prevalent around the world today. And based on our own experience, where we realize, that life is not the same. One day is great, one day is not that great. We pass on that experience to them and support them, to go through the situation. So I believe my kind of, that kind of age group has got such a vital, we are playing a very vital role, and we've got a vital role to play. And often, unfortunately, it doesn't get appreciated, because they don't really look into the so-called reality bubble, what is behind the screen. And they just look at what is happening on the screen and don't appreciate, what's happening elsewhere. That's what I want to say, Laura.
Yeah. So I completely understand, Krishna, that you might see something on the cover of it, but actually there's a lot of things behind that have been working hard to make sure that person has been supported.
Absolutely. That's the way it is. The reality, there are so many different angles to a particular act, but many times we focus on one act, that's what we see. I mean, we think that's the final. No, not at all. There's so many different aspects, and it calls for a lot of deeper understanding to understand the whole thing, So I am very proud to be where I am in my age, because we are making such a very vital contribution to the society and basically and to our younger generation as well, because they need our support to thrive and make the future into the world. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Krishna, for coming on the programme this morning. Krishna there saying that as a society, we have a responsibility to support one another. It's not just about one generation versus another generation. It is all of our responsibilities to help people that are older than us, people that are the same age as us, people that are younger than us, so that we can come together and make sure that we all have a happy life, that we all are able to do things like buy houses and live as comfortably as we can and go out and go to the shops and buy the food that we need. It's something that we should all have, and we can all help one another to do it. Thank you very much there from Krishna. Let's speak to Bob, who is with us from Bearsden. Hello there, Bob.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
The question I would like to ask a lot of people is, what is old? There's actually some young people that are very old and some elderly people that are young. And I generally find that the ones that are middle-aged are actually the most difficult ones in a lot. I don't have any problem with the young. I find them intelligent. They want something out of life that they're not getting. I listen to half of these politicians and all the rest of it when they actually talk about the young, they don't seem to understand them. Most of the ones that I've spoke to, the young anyway, I find them intelligent. They want something out of life that they're not getting. They're not getting it. And when I was young, I started work when I was 14. Left school at that. There was plenty of jobs. You got a trade in different things. Things are all different now. It's very difficult now to be young. It is really. I mean, we all have our problems and different things, and life goes up and down. But the young have an exceedingly different time because their aspirations are not being fulfilled. They're not the trades that there used to be. I mean, at one time, I live in Clydebank. It was an industrial powerhouse. You could leave a job in the morning and have a job in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You could take your pick. The young nowadays don't have that choice. And their aspirations are not being fulfilled because the jobs that are on offer are not what you would call lifetime fulfilling jobs. They're not getting that, And a lot of these politicians don't seem... I think they should actually put more money into actually trades, different things. I mean, we're always screaming out about we were being plumbers, electricians and bricklayers and different things. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I had my central heating boilers to be repaired. It was a young girl that came. I'm no sexist or anything like that. I was quite pleasantly surprised. when I spoke to her about what she was doing and what she was thinking about the job and everything else. But she's only one of a few. There's a lot of them out there that are looking for these kind of jobs and they're not actually getting them. There's nothing there for them. You're actually stunting their lives before they've even started. They're leaving school, in some cases, to nothing, or else they're going to some of these modules in some of these colleges and different things like that. And at the end of the time, there's no job for them. They end up working in shops. I don't have any problem with girls, young men and women working in shops. Some of them like it and some of them do it very well. But some of them, it's only a job. It's a place they go to in the morning and leave at night and can't wait for the weekend to come round so they can get a break or something like that. And I think it's a terrible way to have to live. And we're not doing them any favours when we're making them live that way. They want to, like most of them, they want a house of their own. They want to live their own lives. They don't want to live with their parents. I know I certainly didn't when I got them. And I find exactly the same with them.
Yeah.
And we're not actually giving them a chance to do these things. There must be a way of actually providing good, fulfilling work for these young people. It's really a shame that they're not getting it. And saying that, I also think it's wrong that when a person reaches about 60 and firms make them redundant, that they think they can actually put them in the scrap heap because they, as far as they're concerned, their age makes them no use for these jobs. I mean, I can remember some of the big warehouses. When you were in there, they actually had elder men and women that had worked in trades. And when you were looking for something, you could go up and ask them, and they would tell you, in lots of cases, I could name a big shop, but they could actually say to you, right, well, that's not the paint you want, it's that you want, or it's maybe a bit of pipe you want, or something like that. And that was because the knowledge was there. But it's not been passed on. It dies when they go away, or when these places shut down. It doesn't replace them. And the result is that the young folk are not getting the opportunity to actually deal with these things. And I hear these people on television and radio talking about that, but they don't seem to do anything about it. And that's what I find is terrible. I wouldn't like to be young today. I've got to be honest with you. I really wouldn't. I think it's a hard grind.
Yeah.
And until somebody finds, or some politician, man or woman, sticks their head above the dike and says, look, this is what we want to do, or this is what we're going to do, we're not going to change. And I think it's a very, very sad reflection in society that we are having young people leaving school and not giving them the chance to actually fulfil themselves properly.
Bob, thank you very much for that. Bob in Bearsden there, posing the first question, what is old? Do you feel old? Is it just a number? Is age just a number? Thank you very much, Bob. We're going to speak to Margaret in Blainfield in just a moment, but I'll read out some more texts that we've had this morning. This one's anonymous. It says, good morning. I recently and quite quickly went grey. The attitude to me changed dramatically, especially that of being treated as if my brain no longer functions, mainly by women in their 30s and 40s. Teens and gents are far less condescending in general. That's an anonymous text this morning. This is from a listener in Edinburgh. There is an attitude to older folk which is full of presumption. They don't realise that the older ones know a lot and are wiser and experienced. Young people have always patronised older people. I may get older, but I'm still me and I know more now than ever. Wish silly youngsters would realise it. And this one is from Eva in Dalgety Bay. I attended a conference in Cyprus on ageing. Speakers from Southern Europe looked on the elderly as an asset, and speakers from Northern Europe looked on the elderly as a problem. Geography and culture is important too. That is a really interesting point there, Eva. Thank you very much for that. Let's speak to Margaret then, who is with us from Blainfield. Hi there, Margaret.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What have you thought about the phone-in this morning? What have you thought about the points that have been made already?
Well, I think they're all very interesting, but I think there needs to be more interaction between the generations. And everything, it doesn't really matter what topic you've got on, everything comes down to education. It's always the teachers that have to do it. But I remember in the mid-1980s, there was a scheme whereby adults were able to join in with the classes in secondary schools to get education and the things that they'd missed out on. They could do hires at O levels.
Yeah.
And so that was good because you could get certificates that you'd missed out on in school. And it was good for the adults because they got that access, but it was also good for the discipline in the school because the kids didn't behave as badly, because sometimes their parents were in the class with them doing hires and O levels. And I don't know when I had to leave the country to go abroad with my husband's job, so when I came back there was no more talk of that, so I don't know when it stopped. But I do think that you have to look after all generations from the moment of conception. Mm-hmm. We all have to look after each other, and we have to have more, as I say, more interaction between the generations so that they both understand each other.
That's exactly what our first caller this morning was saying, Margaret. I don't know if you heard Ian, who joined us at the very beginning of the programme. He said that we don't have enough communication, interaction between different generations. People can't learn about other people's lived experiences because they're just not seeing each other or speaking to each other enough. And therefore, that's where all these assumptions come from. People assuming that an older person has lots of money because they live in a nice house, or the assumption that a young person is lazy because they've never known hard work, all these assumptions that are thrown out there. Do you think that is the crux of the issue, that as society we have become more strained, we don't have interaction with different generations as much anymore?
Yeah, that is the problem. We don't understand each other. For example, I'm almost 75, and I have a couple of younger friends, Alexandra and Callum, and they were over visiting for lunch. And I said to Callum that really it's your younger generation that is going to have to take up the baton where my generation left off, because I'm an active environmental campaigner. Mm-hmm. And he made me laugh because his response was, yes, that's what my grandpa used to say to me. And it made me laugh because made me feel as if I was the age of a grandpa. I still think of myself as a young person.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Even the terminology can make you think a certain way or a certain thing about someone. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. That's Margaret in Blainfield there with more thoughts. Interaction between generations, is there just not enough of it? There is still a wee bit left of the phone in, so please do get in touch with me. 80295 is the number to text me if you have any thoughts on what we've been saying. WhatsApp me or call me 08085 92 95 00.
I am running for Congress.
Eddie Murphy went from con man to congressman.
It's the con of a lifetime.
Now this big shot shoots into your home on pay-per-view.
Been like a nice warm Uzi.
So easy to order.
Read my lips.
It'll leave you speechless. Eddie Murphy.
Hey, 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 hey.
The distinguished gentleman. Bring home the laughs on Viewer's Choice pay-per-view.
Coming up on the programme.
Should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it?
The Court of Karen returns with another humdrum conundrum. Text your thoughts to 80295 or WhatsApp 08085 92 95 00. And
2 days later, being charged with.
Just finishing up the phone in this morning, we were asking, do we stereotype older people? Do we have issues with age discrimination? We've had so many really interesting thoughts and points from our callers and our guests this morning. So thank you to everyone who's been involved in the conversation so far. Let's speak now to Ros Taylor, who's a psychologist. Good morning, Ros.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right. What have you made of the phone in this morning? Is this generally what people are assuming these days? Are we stereotyping older people by thinking that they have lots of money and also that they can't use technology as well as younger generations and that they should not be working for as long as other people should be?
Gosh, how interesting. I missed the earlier piece of some of the things that you've said. But yes, I think there is age stereotyping and also for older people, for younger people. So it was good that came in as well. it's kind of quick and easy ways to categorize people. That's why we do it. The problem is it doesn't take into consideration the individual, and we're all hugely different. And I'm a great believer as a psychologist that instead of judging, we should cut people some slack. We should get to know what's behind the face. And stop making quick judgments. I've only been quite recently heard of the terminology boomer. We've been taking all the good stuff away. But I think as older generations, certainly a lot of my friends are sponsoring, and I do, sponsor university places for younger people who maybe couldn't afford to go. Certainly helping out in the family for folk getting their houses. We're doing a lot, and folk don't necessarily know that because it's the first time that I've ever mentioned this publicly, that we do these kind of things. And so I think we need to speak more. I think your last caller about having joined up communities is very important. How can we do that? We're too isolated from each other, and we shouldn't be.
Yeah. Why is it that we make these assumptions then, Ros, that we see someone, make up our mind on them in that first few seconds, and then basically that's how we see them? It's very difficult for them to alter our view on them after that point.
Well, I think that's part of life. I think in a way it goes back to when we were in the jungle, if we were ever in a jungle in Scotland. We had to make up our minds, friend or foe, enemy or one of us, and then we would deal with it accordingly. So I think it's part of our psyche as human beings. What we can do, though, is challenge that and say, well, is that true? Should I find out more about this person and be able to change my mind? And I think that's something that we can learn to do.
Okay. In terms of new technologies and things like that, Ros, is there a way, do you think, that we can stop people from assuming that people can't use new technologies? Is there a way that we can speak to people and be more open to their needs when it comes to learning new things and not making these blanket assumptions, these perceptions that some people are able to do things and some people are just not capable of doing some things?
Well, I think indeed. I think joining stuff that maybe younger people do so that they can see that you're, technologically kind of up with them. Why not? I think it's quite strange, actually, because when people retire, they've got much more time to be at home and on their computer, and they're probably ahead of most people in what they're doing. So I think it's quite the reverse. And it's probably doing programs like this and telling this to other folk and making sure. I mean, I don't know if your program goes out to young people. Do young people listen to this program?
I hope so.
I hope so too. And I think older people do. So it's mixing the ages. It's getting people together to understand, no, actually, we can run our iPhones quite well, thank you very much. Okay. And we can be on a computer. Why not?
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Ros. That's Ros Taylor, psychologist there. We're going to give the last thought of the morning to Bill in Aberdeenshire. Hi, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning. What would you like to say about this morning then? Do you agree? Are we assuming a lot about different types of generations?
Yes, I was quite interested in the programme, quite interested in listening to that. My experience is this, that I retired at 65 and immediately started another job. And my other job was Polar Expedition Guide. I was working in Antarctica, the Arctic, Falklands, South Georgia, all over the place. And when I got to 70, I received a call to say that I could no longer be employed by that company because the insurance company had decided that at 70 I was beyond it. And I kind of burst out laughing. That was ageism. So I told them to contact the chairman of the company. He negotiated with the insurance company and everything returned to normal. Now I'm 80 and I'm still working 6 months of the year in Antarctica, Falklands, South Georgia, Greenland, Iceland, and the high Arctic. And I defy anybody to say that I'm past it. I work as a Polar Expedition Guide and Polar Expedition Guide trainer. And so I have huge experience. 45 years as an art teacher to the time I retired at 65. And then
Bill, I think we're having a bit of problem with your line, unfortunately, Bill. I don't know if people were hearing Bill at all there, but it was pretty unclear towards the end there. But roughly what Bill was saying was he's 80. When he was 70, he received an email from the company he worked for to say that he could no longer be employed. The insurance company wouldn't insure him for 6 months of the year. He works as a polar guide in Antarctica. The idea that age is a barrier is nonsense. You can do whatever you like when you're old if you're healthy. Thank you very much for that, Bill. I'm really sorry that we couldn't hear you at the end there. Just a couple of texts to finish on this morning. The Scottish Government don't help. The narrative is that the only poverty is child poverty. Most of their new benefits are for children and family. They are supporting the healthy boomer or the wealthy boomer myth. The only mention of older people is as bed blockers. Change needs to start from in government. That's an anonymous text there. And another anonymous text there, government play off the young against the old to divert attention from the fact it's the government who have failed both generations. I'm sure the government would have something to say about that. Thank you to everyone who has been in touch with the programme this morning. Good morning, you're listening to BBC Radio Scotland with Laura McGee.
Should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it?
The Court of Karen returns with another Humdrum Conundrum. Karen presents the case and you decide the verdict. This week, should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it? Text your thoughts 80295 or WhatsApp 08085 92 95 00. And
2 days later, being charged with
but they got no show. So I'ma grab the mic, flip a script, believe the stun. Buckshot's the one that gets the job done. Mic check, I get paid to wreck your set. Get ready, can check, cause I'm a threat to your fret. No host bar, incomplete move fakers. Best to play the back to watch a girl, I might take her. If she's a grab, I'ma dissident slide. If she try to rip, I got my Smith on my side. Word to God, here I come to make way. Rugged and rock, killing your set every day. Microphone check, 1, 2, here we go. And I'ma let you know who got the flow. Spitting my verbs like an automatic weapon. Suckers keep stepping, cause I'ma let you know. So I paid them like a hippie from the 60s, but I'ma get paid from the 90s. Like to play your little rascal out like Stymie, get your flavor. With my lifesaver techniques, guaranteed to move weeks, and I'll go on for weeks, maybe years. If my peers give me ears to fill, they go for shot and act ill, ball late and chill. See, I paid my dues, now you can't tell me nothing. This is dedicated to the ones who kept frontin', the ones who try to disimpose how oh no. Just cause you had low, see now I got dough, and I'm paid out my rectum, meaning my backbone. Grab the mic, flip a mad script to your dome. Suckers, I kick them like Taekwondo. Yes, hello from head to toe to let you know. rugged operator like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Buckshot, quick to play your nigga like Sega. Smooth trigger, happy snappy. Keep my hair nappy. When I swing a F, girls call me Big Pappy. I used to play a game called Ring Around the Rosie. But now I play the mic, that's why the whole world knows me. I'm sorta like a Chevy heavy when I bump rush. You better bring your whole damn crew or get your head crushed, sucker. Cause I'ma set it off with one shot. One trigger, one nigga, dub heads drop. Don't even try to play me out, core static. Buckshot shorty, me sounds like an automatic. Rip the set, my fret's mad tight. Cause I rocks the mic and keeps the crowd hype. Straight from bump rush, try crush and cause chaos, yo. And I'ma let you know. I must keep you dozing into the stage of the buckshot shorty. Son, pass the boom, keep a top on a 40. Never ever ever get played. Kill that, bust a mad cap in your back. Cause I'm all that straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Ain't Luke the hookin', your whole beat's cookin'. Must take charge, Bogart, I'm the man. Bust my plan and feeds back on my fan. Must I cruise, pay dues, I never lose when I break on fools. Wake up, you don't snooze. Bust the move, I get smooth like Rody. Kickin' like the 4 horsemen, yeah, you know me. Booming like a speaker with my $100 sneakers. Baggy black jeans, knapsack, and my beeper. Keep a fresh cut, never see me with a busted flow. And I'ma let you know.
That woke you up. Good morning, everyone. Strictly's professional dancers Amy Dowden and Carlos Gu are feeling reborn after going through their own personal journeys and are out on the road to show us all. The new dance tour, aptly named Reborn, will be touring the UK with stops in Scotland next month. And Carlos joins me now. Carlos, the dance moves that you were pulling out there whilst dancing to Shakira were absolutely phenomenal. And you obviously didn't realise we could see you that entire time.
I don't, no. I was like, I love the vibe and such a good song for 10 a.m. I just couldn't stop moving myself. No way.
For all 2 minutes and 55 seconds of that song, we were all hooked and watching Carlos dance in our screen. And he was standing dancing, not just on his seat waiting for the interview. He was all in.
No.
It was good, Carlos.
Oh, wow,
Thank you.
I warmed up. I loved it.
Well, thanks very much for joining us on Mornings today. So you are going to be touring your new show, Reborn, from next month. So first of all, tell me a little bit about the show. Where did the name come from?
Wow, where do I begin? The title has really got connected between me and Amy, because I had this idea of doing a show and called Reborn, and I offered it to her. I had a conversation with her because it's more of like having both of us life experiences in a different path, but we meet as a friend. Completely, that helped us is land in the different levels of our life and different spots of our life. For myself, it's like I travel all the way back from China, come to UK, completely into a television world. I have no idea how that would be. I know nothing about it. And finding myself and accepting myself has actually really got me better since I moved here. I more realized to dig inside of myself with who I am, my identity, the love of my life. I got meeting the friends like Amy. We got really closer. It's every bit of everything that happened around me has really shaped me in a different form of myself, that I felt deeply connected. I felt there's so much more I want telling. I want telling the audience the story that I had, as well as Amy. She's been through so much things that we all know, her cancer journeys. She has really, really conquered, and she survived from all of the ups and downs. And she just got her MBE last night.
Yes, she did, yes.
Honored by the thing. So So I think because of that, what we had, because of the friendship that we had, we want to tell the story together, holding our hands together and really going out there, just shine through the dance and through the passion of our life and through the style that we like through the dance. Yeah.
So what kind of styles will we be seeing in the show then, Carlos? And how important has that friendship with Amy been in creating the performances that you'll be doing? Are you both quite similar dancers? Do you have similar styles, similar sort of ideas about what you want to put on for your performances?
Oh, yes, because one thing that me and Amy's we had in common is that we both from competitive world. Because most of us, they're from theatre world, but me and Amy were both from competitive world and we used to compete against each other. You know,
really?
How funny is that? So we know each other a long way back, but we never really know each other as a friend. So in the Star Wars, we both had the same vision of how dancing should be, how dancing should feel, especially with a partner job. The partnering dance is very picky for us dancers. We have to dance with another human being. So everything, how the sense of the body touching, how the idea of connecting with both eyes, how understanding to move your body in the same way through the same music are very important for us because we're not dancing alone, we're dancing with a partner. So that actually helped us because we have the same vision, same goal, and same understanding and a background through dance. And of course, we definitely do ballroom Latin. That's our specialty. But this show is something that we're going to challenge ourselves as well. We're going to break through the comfort zone that we had. We're not only offer what we have, we want to bring some things that we can challenge ourselves to really improving ourselves in the shows as well. So not doing only the things that we know, but we're going to doing Argentine tango in a different level. And Amy, she's going to really bring some like sexy, sassy Queen's number commercials coming out. So there's so many things we wanted to try and we're going to achieve and to make it work for both of us and to really shine through those dances. And hopefully audience can feel the passion, feel the energy, feel the determination through our eyes, our movement, our energy.
I can hear it all in your voice right now just talking about it, Carlos. So I'm sure it's going to have a lot of passion and a lot of energy. There's no doubt about that. Talk to me a little bit about where you're most excited to be performing. Obviously, you're on BBC Radio Scotland right now. So if we could have some shout out to our Scotland audiences.
Like Scotland, I love you. You know, Scotland is one of my favourite area up north. I really loved it. Edinburgh, you know, Glasgow. I love Glasgow. And we've been traveling to Glasgow the past few years through a Strictly tour, which was just beautiful, you know. And and also we all know the audience up north, audience in Scotland, how amazing they are and how crazy they are. So I definitely can't wait to be performing in Glasgow and in Scotland.
Oh, perfect. Carlos, let's talk a little bit about Strictly Come Dancing, the live shows. You started in 2022. You've had already pretty good partners. You've got pretty far on in the competition already. You've been with Molly Rainford. You made it to the final. You were with Angela Scanlon. And you're going to be joining the show for its 20th series this year. Just tell me a little bit about how Strictly Come Dancing has changed your life. You've talked about coming over here and how it's been a very different type of life that you've had, and you've had to get used to television and becoming a famous face in this country as well. What has it done to your life, and how has it changed it?
It just is so much to take in, isn't it? Especially when you come into general public side and into a like well-known television national shows. It changes your life. It completely changes your life, the way how you see yourself as well. But I was so lucky that to be able to have two partners that I could call friends, and I'm really close to them, and they're just so, you know, and whoever paired us up, it just made such a brilliant decision because I love both of them, and I was so lucky in my 2 years journey with both of them had in my life. And because I was so uncertain, I was so nervous when I first moved here, because I moved to UK for Strictly because I'd taken the job, but I always wanted to move to UK. Inside for myself, I know China is my country, but I feel UK is my hometown. I feel deeply connected about this country. I've been traveling to this country for dances since I was 15. So I know a little bit about it. I'm a huge fan of royal family, just everything about this country I just adore. So, of course, having the idea that I loved moving here, but everything's uncertainty, unfamiliar with the people, you don't know what you're into. So it has really frightened me a little bit, but I was so nervous. But I was so lucky because Strictly it works as a team. It works as a family. You genuinely feel the feeling. You're immerse yourself into a family environment, not in a working space. Of course, everybody's professionals. Everybody do their best. But the love, the care, the sort of sentimental human being feeling in this working environment has really grounded me and protected me and made me realize I was so lucky to be in this family. It wouldn't be the same without any of us. If individual doing Strictly would never be this successful, but because we are as a team, we're as a family, that's why the show gone so big. That's why the audience love this show. Yeah. I think that I'm so lucky. My mom even said you're just so lucky.
Just in terms of getting into Strictly, I'm quite interested about this. So you obviously are a highly successful dancer. You're Chinese national champion, a wealth of dance accolades under your belt. You've got multiple world semi-finalists, third place competitor at the German Open Championship. I mean, the list goes on. How do they find you as a dancer? Who comes knocking at your door and is like, Carlos, would you like to audition for Strictly Come Dancing in the UK? Where does it come from?
I mean, when you are fabulous, everybody knows you.
That's the answer, right?
No, I was like, no, yeah. As a dancer, if you're not as a competitor, I mean, being on Strictly is just a dream. Who doesn't want to be on Strictly? Who doesn't be on the show like this to really give you the opportunity to really shine through what you have? Because Strictly is such a platform that you can do so much more just than competing. The creations, the teaching, it's just so much more and goes on. I think I'm being lucky enough because that I just got in contact from one of the producer, and because we were competing worldwide, I think everybody sort of knows everybody in a way. So dancers knows dancers. So I got really lucky. One of the producer get in touch with me and asked if I would interested to join Strictly, and of course I did. But it took me 4 months to make a decision because I was still competing when the Strictly approached me. But I was also rising up in my competitive career, so I was really I love being competitive, but it was hard decision to make. But I deep inside of myself, I know I want to move to UK, and this is what I want to do. I want to be on Strictly, so here I am.
Oh, well, you love Strictly. Strictly loves you. Thank you so much for joining us on the programme, Carlos. It's been lovely talking to you. We're going to have a couple of songs coming up throughout the programme, so if you want to just stay and dance in your living room and we'll just all watch you dance for free, that would be great.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Carlos. And of course, Reborn will be touring in Aberdeen and Glasgow on the 18th and 19th of March, respectively, and you can see Amy Dowden and Carlos in that. Thank you very much. You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland and Mornings with Laura McGee.
Maldito that we had in we cloud to stereophonics. Lost prophet Chick Stevens. I Charlotte Chechamanics. We went to him and rugby done. Justin Kearney Johns. He Wilkinson and Robinson. Just really man on
It's 8:40.
Joy, Chris Boys and Homana Radio.
Karen McKenzie is also going to be with us very shortly for the Court of Karen, so stay with us.
You like me now, I'm in the mix. It's 1986 and I got the fix with a chicken and a quota. Got the baking soda, let the water boil. Workers all loyal. Dropped out to 12 cause my welfare is shorter than a midget on his knees. Now I sling keys, invest
my hood with crack, cause I'm the Mac. Take a nation of millions to hold me back. Too big for my britches, and I got, now I'm hitting switches. Want my riches, used to get 18 when my G was alive. Now a key is 13,589's the number. Another summer, police ain't getting no dumber. Streets dried up, used to think it would last, but being a kingpin is a thing of the past. They tried to blast me for selling a boulder. Now I got my Minnesota, got my own crew. It's on brand new. Damn, what can I do to that? Now it was on from dusk to dawn and everything jumped. Damn, what can I do to that? Now it was on from dusk to dawn and everything jumped. Already done stacked me $500,000 ticket, bought a house next to Prince, so now I can kick it. Now I got ends, waving to my friends, rolling in my Benz, going to see the twins play at the Dome. Police all tapping my mobile phone. I'm almost home, getting excited, indicted. Spent the grip in the year trying to fight it. Lawyer got paid, plead, no contest, and everything I own got repossessed. Now take a look at the dunce, and I'm happy cause I only got 36 months. Never picked up a book, but my arms are 16 inches. Look, can't wait for 92 so I can get with my crew and see what can I do to that. Now it was on from dusk to dawn and everything jumped. And it's on up in the pen, now it's 94. Back in LA and I'm belling in the dough. Everybody know I gotta start from scratch. So where to work at and smirk at me saying ain't nothing popping from here to the LB. What you tell me? No, it ain't cracking. Everybody's jacking for a coupe, cause they sent in the troops. Even though I got muscle, that ain't my hustle. Taking in a tussle, no skills to pay the bills. Talking about education to battle inflation. No college degree, just a dumb G. Yeah, you. Who, me? I got a baby on the way. Damn, it's a mess. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Yes. Took some advice from my Uncle Fester, all dressed up in polyester. Welcome to McDonald's, may I please help you? What can I do to that? Now it was on from dusk to dawn and everything jumped. The white man has broke every law known to man to establish America. But he'll put you in the state penitentiary. He'll put you in the federal penitentiary for breaking these same laws. Now, we're gonna look and see if this motherfucker guilty for the laws he'll put you in jail for. Drug using, drug selling, armed robbery, strong arm robbery, grand larceny, rape, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, extortion, aggravated assault, mayhem, sodomy of the black man, trespassing, embezzlement, perjury, kidnapping, smuggling, grand theft, brandishing a firearm, carrying a concealed weapon, breaking and entering, and premeditated, cold-blooded murder. Guilty on every charge.
She's back.
You say it in such a nice way, Laura.
I feel like it has to be more dramatic.
So loved.
So, oh, right, okay. Well, should we do it again?
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Wait. She's back. Is that okay now?
Thanks.
Time for another Humdrum Conundrum with our judgmental friend Karen McKenzie. Every week we deal with one of life's minor irritations, a conundrum guaranteed to divide and even grind gears. Karen McKenzie will give her thoughts, but you, the jury, will have the final say. But before all of that, we should find out how Karen is. How are you, Karen?
Very well indeed, thank you.
You doing well? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, actually, I've just finished making a batch of marmalade. I know it's really late in the year because it's normally all done and dusted kind of mid-January.
Yep.
But I've not had a kitchen for 3 weeks and I was thinking these blinking oranges are going to be going off. Anyway, the kitchen is smelling amazing at the moment. So, yeah, marmalade making is my...
Is that your thing?
Is my thing at the moment, and I've probably made about 48 jars.
Oh, wow.
So that's it. Yeah.
How many oranges for 48 jars?
Well, the recipe is 900. Kay would not No. 900 grams for one batch, and that gives you about 7 jars.
You've got 900 oranges in your kitchen.
I would say about 8 oranges.
Oh,
Depends
okay.
on the size of them, mind you, for one batch.
Oh, okay.
But then I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 batches, I think.
Fair
I've
enough.
made, so
Good for you.
Yeah. Love it.
I noticed none's been brought in, but that's fine.
Have you been through yet?
No, I have. Well, I'm on air. Where am I going to go?
Well, then you don't know, do you?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see when it comes to midday. Thanks very much, Karen. Also with us this morning is actor Libby MacArthur. Hello there, Libby.
Hi, Laura.
How are
I
you?
love a bit of marmalade.
Exactly. Have you had any?
But that was amazing. It went from 900 oranges to 8. I'm really
900
surprised.
grams, I should say. 900 grams.
I'm really surprised you only need 8 oranges.
I
think
one
I've
batch.
got 8 oranges in my house. I think I could go and make some marmalade.
Oh, they've got to be Seville.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
all right.
You only get them in January.
Oh, now she's getting
she's
compliment.
bringing
I was
out
nearly
all the
throwing them into my suitcase when I was over in Malaga because they were falling off the trees, and I thought, no, I might get arrested.
Yeah.
You know, within churches and things like that. There's trees everywhere, and it's just they're all just lying on the ground.
So
but
you-
I didn't.
No,
I resisted.
You resist it. Okay, I was
No, I
going to
look
say.
at Laura's face.
I was about to say, let's
hang on.
wrap this
You're
up.
on here. This could go.
Whoa. Not getting in trouble before we've gone and done the court of Karen yet. Anyway, yes, Libby, you're well?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm
Are you
good.
primed?
I'm looking forward to this. That's
Primed
fair.
and ready to tell Karen what's what.
Well, you know.
Where to go? Yep. Not to the theatre.
Right.
Oh, dear.
It's time for today's trial. We'll go through and deliberate this week's case for you, the jury. Then you can get in touch with your thoughts and ultimately today's verdict. And this one is actually inspired by a submission from a listener. So
Love
please do get in touch if you have any conundrums for Karen to discuss. But for now, let's hear today's conundrum.
Planned a theatre trip. It had been in the books for a while and I was really looking forward to going. Unfortunately, due to a family bereavement, I was no longer able to make it and didn't have a huge amount of time to organise what I was doing with them. I offered them to a friend and mentioned how much money they were when I originally bought them. Should I expect money for theatre tickets that I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it?
Should I expect money for theatre tickets I gave to my friend when I could no longer make it? Gave to friend seems an important bit of that question.
Yes.
But Karen, tell us what you think.
No, I think you have to just write them off. I mean, it is annoying that you buy tickets and then for whatever reason, bereavement or other plans, I think you can't really ask for money. If you want money for them, you go and sell them online or through some, platform, social media platform or whatever. But I think you can't actually ask a mate for them. I mean, I think I'd be just glad to get rid of them, that somebody's actually going to use them up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I mean,
Even if it cost a lot of money.
yeah, okay, Laura. So I would say there's a cut-off of 50, 60 quid.
Okay.
So that's the price of a theatre ticket today. I
Is
can
it?
tell you now.
Well, they probably- that's
Unless you're
probably-
going-
that's
unless
probably the
you're going
starting
to the Play
one,
Pie and a
actually.
Pint, which has gone up hugely. Unless you're going to Play Pie and a Pint, that's the price of a theatre ticket.
Yeah, well, I think it's I would just be glad that somebody's getting the use of them. But I don't think you can actually expect to get money from them. I would just be happy that somebody's getting them. But as long as as long as they're going to enjoy it and don't feel obliged to take them, then
Okay, and therein lies the rub.
What do you mean?
On you go, Libby.
Well, do you know, I think it's, I totally agree with you, Karen. unlike.
Right, that's it.
No.
So
well,
yeah, great, Laura. Thanks.
You cannot expect. You cannot expect. It would be wrong to shake your fist at your pal and go, gaze the money. But just like you said, Karen, there's no shame in putting them on Facebook and saying, would anyone like these at face value? Happens all the time. You see it all the time. People, this poor person's had a bereavement, so through no fault of their own. I think the most important thing here is that, never let it be said that I'm someone that knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Theatre tickets these days are astronomical. I mean, I remember when I was in Redheads and we did a sketch for Mayfest. We were going, Mayfest, for the people, to the people, by the people. Unless you've got Wayne's. How many Wayne's? 5, that's one. They're counting up the theatre, the price of the ticket showing. That was way back in Mayfest. Now they're skyrocketed through the roof. For me, I think it's important that the PAL had the chance to choose it or lose it. They should not have taken those tickets because, like he said, they were booked for a long while. I suspect something
they shouldn't
brilliant.
have taken the tickets.
Yeah, okay, he gave them. Well, if they weren't going to make some sort of effort, okay, maybe you're
Hang
right,
on,
Karen.
nobody's making an effort. The person can't use the tickets,
Yeah,
right?
so
what they want surely is to have somebody use the
find
tickets.
someone who's willing to give them the worth and the value of those tickets, because I tell you what, Karen, see, as an actor, there's nothing worse than people in those cheap seats that haven't paid for their tickets.
There's nothing
Those are the
worse
kind
than-
that
but
go
someone
to the
has.
toilet and go to
Someone has.
Yeah, exactly.
paid for the ticket, I
and
guess.
there's nothing worse than empty seats, I would have thought.
No, but the person that's there watching goes, I'm away at the toilet because I never paid for these tickets. I don't value
The limit
them.
if they go to the
You know what
toilet.
it's like for 3 for 2 shampoos? You can't wait to get rid of that third bottle.
Right.
So
kind of
I
getting
suppose
lost here.
what I'm saying is, that I think if they're not willing to pay face value, absolutely fine. Just go, listen, no, it's fine. They cost me a fortune. It's a really great show. I would be saving you loads of hassle because I booked them ages ago and it's probably sold out by now. I'll give them to someone who would have loved to see that show and is willing to. So if your pal is going...
I'm kind of lost here.
If your pal's going, okay, I'll take the tickets you're giving me, but I'm not going to give you a penny for them, then I don't think that's all right.
I don't think she asked for the tickets. I don't
Exactly.
think she said,
Exactly.
I hear you've got a bereavement and I hear that you also bought tickets for the thing, so
Exactly.
I would love to take the tickets off your hand. That's not the scenario.
Exactly. So he wants rid of them. And I think...
He wants to see them being used, and it's better to them to be used by somebody rather than empty seats. And you can't, it's still, Matt, you cannot say to somebody, by the way, they were 150 quid. I don't suppose you could give me that 150 quid.
I wonder though, Karen, maybe there would have been a slight assumption. Say it was 150 quid and I was like, I can't go anymore. I'll give it to my friend. I would maybe think that they would be like, oh, do you want something for them? I would maybe expect that.
Yeah, you can expect that. But you can't ask for it.
You can't ask for it.
Do you know what you could
Well, the
say
question is, can I expect?
You could
The question
actually...
is, can I expect? And I'm saying, yeah. And if not that, some flowers and a bottle of wine.
Well,
but Karen, you're basically saying he wants rid of them. They're going to go to waste. No, they're not necessarily. Give them to me, I'll pay for them. I just think there's something about theatre that's so precious and so priceless and so wonderful. I kind of want it to be worthed and valued for what it is. I think the ticket prices are too expensive, but that's what it is. So can he expect something in return?
You think he should?
I think yes is the answer.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. You probably can. But do you know what I was thinking there? Actually, what you could do is give them to somebody for a birthday present, knowing that if they liked whoever you're going to see in the theatre, and you could give them a shout and say, do you like so-and-so? Would you like these 2 tickets as your birthday? I know it's your birthday's not for another 8 months, but at least that's
But remember, I got you that present 8 months ago.
Right. And I'll give you a card in the day reminding you that was your birthday gift.
Look, thanks very much, ladies. We'll have to leave it there for just now. Actor Libby MacArthur, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Karen McKenzie as well, thank you very much. Karen, you'll be back later to tell us what our lovely jury has thought of all this.
What our listeners are saying.
What our listeners are saying, the true jury of the whole thing. Thank you very much for that. That is the quote of Karen, and we will be back for the trial very, very shortly. You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland.
Won't you take me to?
Good morning, everyone. Mornings with Laura McGee with you today. It is Wednesday, the 19th of February. That was Funky Town there. Thank you very much for giving me your company today. Much obliged. And stay with us. We're on till midday. Now, our consumer surgery is back to help you look after and get the most out of your money, really. Martin James is off this week, but we have drafted in the help of our Edinburgh-based consumer expert and the complaints resolver, Scott Dixon. He's here to answer all your questions. So if you've got a question about your rights when it comes to giving over your information when you're buying something, refunds, insurance, Scott is here to help. We'll be doing the main surgery just after 11, but Scott has joined me now for a quick catch-up. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Laura.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you very much. Just give us a brief overview of what kind of things you can help our audience with today when we come back for the surgery.
So if you've bought a faulty car, maybe hit a pothole and want to make a claim, received an unfair parking ticket, got a problem with parcel deliveries or faulty goods, or if you're struggling to get a refund from a retailer, give me a call and I'll do my best to answer your questions.
Fabulous. Let's talk a little bit about a car-related story for just now. So car finance, victims of fraud and financial mis-selling could lose out on billions of pounds of compensation after a decision to charge lawyers for lodging claims with the Financial Ombudsman Service. So this, I believe, has been going on for a bit of a while. What's the latest on this?
Well, no-win, no-fees claims management companies have been exploiting this for many years. And it all began when the PPI, the Payment Protection Insurance scandal, that unfolded in 2005. And the Financial Services Authority cited that sorting out PPI was one of its priorities when it took over the task of regulating the general insurance industry. And consumers were encouraged to take out PPI when it was sold with loans, credit cards, mortgages, car finance, catalogue accounts, and standalone PPI policies were also sold that were not linked to any particular credit. And commissions were included in the PPI, and that was at the heart of the scandal. And claims management companies found a rich and easy seam to exploit and make lots of money from. And that opened the floodgates for the no-win, no-fee compensation culture we have today. And the Ombudsman found professional representatives were behind around 47% of the cases sent to them between April and December 2024. And that's up from around 18% in 2022-2023 tax year. And the Ombudsman has announced they will make their funding arrangements fairer by charging professional representatives £250 to refer a case to them as from the 1st of April 2025. And previously, they've been able to bring, what's going to happen is they're going to be able to bring 10 cases to the service for free each financial year. But after that, every case is going to be charged at £250, but they will receive £175 back if the complaint is found in favour of the consumer they represent.
Okay.
And the problem is financial services firms at the moment, they pay a £650 case fee for complaints lodged against them that the Ombudsman investigates, whereas professional representatives don't pay a case fee at all. And the reason for this latest decision is because a large proportion of complaints referred to the Ombudsman in recent years has been driven by professional representatives who are using the Ombudsman for free to investigate complaints, and they're taking a substantial cut from the payouts. And the aim is to raise standards across the board and encourage firms to lodge well-evidenced complaints. And at the moment, there's no incentive for them to do so when they don't have to pay to lodge any complaints, and it's to reduce the spurious claims and reduce the backlogs as well. But the success rate with professional representatives on car finance complaints, which is the latest scandal, was only 26% between April 2024 and December 2024, whereas if you do it yourself, you've got a much higher chance of winning, and it stands at 38% for those that do it themselves. And it is easy to do for free, and you get to keep 100% of the money that you're entitled to. Nobody needs to use a claims management company.
Oh, interesting. So you don't need to go that route. You can do it yourself. Thanks very much for that. We will be maybe talking about that a little bit later, actually, Scott Dixon. We'll pick up on that. Thanks very much. Our complaints resolver. So Scott will be back just after 11 for the main surgery. So if you've got any consumer-related questions, give him a call 08085 92 95 00 or text 80295 now. Please stay with us. Enjoy your company this morning.
I know it's been some time, but there's something on my mind. See, I haven't been the same since a cold November day. They said we needed space, but all I found was an empty place. And the only things I learned is that I need you desperately. So here I am, and can you please tell me, where do broken hearts go? Can they find their way home? Back to the open arms of a love that's waiting there. And if somebody hurts you, won't they always love you? I look in your eyes, and I know that you still care for me. I've been around enough to know that dreams don't turn to gold, and there is no easy way. No, you can't just run away. We have so much more than we ever had before, and no matter how I try, I can't get you off my mind. Here I am, and can you please tell me, where do broken hearts go? Can they find their way on? Back to the open arms of a love that's waiting there. If somebody loves you, won't they always love you? I look in your eyes, and I know that you still care for me. Now that I'm here with you, I'll never let you go. I look into your eyes, now I know. Now I know. Where do broken hearts go? Can they find their way on? Back to the open arms of the love that's waiting there. If somebody loves you, won't they always love you? I look in your eyes, and I know that you still care for me. For me. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Morning, everyone. Laura McGee here with you on BBC Radio Scotland. Now, when you think back to your time at school in maths class, how do you feel? Well, if you get a sense of dread at the thought of mental arithmetic, there might be bad news for you. New research from Loughborough University and others suggests that if you are anxious about maths, those struggles may be passed on to your children. So how can we tackle maths anxiety? Joining us on this is maths teacher and broadcaster Bobby Seagull and freelance writer and mum of two, Emer O'Hagan. Good morning, Bobby. Good morning, Emer.
Good morning. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. Let me talk to you first, Bobby. Maths anxiety. You're a maths teacher. Is this something that you are familiar with, aware of from parents that you maybe speak to of your pupils?
Oh, yes, definitely. And again, maths anxiety, for listeners tuning in, is a negative emotional reaction that we encounter. And it can be for children in the class when they see a maths problem, or even adults in the real world if they see a bank statement or see numbers to do with finance. And the problem is it can impact our ability to deal with numbers. And as a teacher, I often see that young people, when they develop this, be it when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 in sort of elementary, primary school, it sort of lasts with them for till their teen years, their exams, and then when they become adult, when they have children. So actually, the earlier we can sort of try and turn around symptoms of maths anxiety, the better.
I guess people that are maybe thinking that they're going to be sitting down to help with their kids' homework, and maybe they think, I don't really know how to do this myself. That's the issue for a lot of people. Can you relearn the basics of maths at any stage in life? Or are you quite right to be a bit anxious about that situation? Because you want your child to learn how to do proper maths. You don't want them to perhaps learn the incorrect way of doing something because you're not 100% certain yourself.
Oh, completely. And again, I would tell parents that it's completely normal to feel anxious, especially if you had difficulties with the subject yourself, when your son or daughter comes and says, hey, Mum, can you help me out? And the first thing I would say is that methods do change from, when parents were in the 90s and noughties and now what they're being taught in school. There are slight variations, so don't panic. I would say almost try and use your teacher to be your child to be the teacher. Ask your child, explain what method you learn in school. Hopefully they'll have something. And then again, the great thing about technology and social media and YouTube, there are so many great websites and resources to learn things together. So I think it's okay for parents to find maths difficult, but the key thing is not to say negative things about the subject to your children. Like if you tell your child, maths is terrible, maths is useless, I don't need it, then the child sees that as okay, I definitely don't need maths.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely don't want to be doing that. Can anyone learn maths, or do you think, Bobby, that it's a case of some people's brains are wired differently? You would hear sometimes people saying, I'm a numbers person, I'm not a words person, or I'm a words person, not a numbers person. Do you think there's some truth in that?
So I'm an ambassador for a charity called National Numeracy, and a lot of the work that we do is on two parts of our maths ability. One is your competence. Can you actually do the maths? But half the game, Laura, is to do with our I would say our attitude towards the subject. And this is really important because, of course, we know there's a sort of bell curve, normal distribution of abilities and everything, whether it's singing, I'm terrible at doing that, or dancing or cooking or sport or maths. We know that there are people, young people, adults, that pick up concepts quicker or can learn dance moves more quickly. But to be competent in using maths and numeracy in particular on a day-to-day basis, that doesn't require maths genius. That just requires sort of effort over a long period of time and also better attitudes to the subject.
Okay. Emer, let's bring you in at this point. You are a freelance writer, mum of two. Have you had to sit down yet with your kids and try and go through some times tables or some arithmetic?
Yes. I mean, our first experience of it was during the lockdown when I was homeschooling a P1. And as someone who has suffered from maths anxiety all of my life and it endures, I honestly, it gave me so much stress worrying that I was this person of imparting, the basics of numeracy to my then 5-year-old. And I really worried that I would mess it up and he would never, find his way back on the maths path because of me, to the point where, we, the night before, because we would do a bit of homeschooling every morning, I would actually sit the night before and I would look at, okay, what is the numeracy work for tomorrow? What is the worksheet? Okay, I'll go and look at a YouTube video about how to teach this, what messaging to use, because I really didn't want to pass on to him, my own issues with maths, especially at that, that key fundamental stage of P1.
And do you think that your son had any idea that you were doing that or that you were worried about it?
I don't know. I mean, we both found homeschooling very stressful. I'm not sure that was just unique to maths. That was every day. I think I tried, to kind of not single out maths out of, the subjects we were having to teach as something that I was particularly anxious about teaching to him. But, the whole thing was a nightmare, which I'd like to forget. And I'm pleased to say it doesn't seem to have impeded him. He's well ahead in his numeracy, thank goodness.
Oh, that's good. Do you think this anxiety is unique to maths and only maths?
Well, I mean, my own experience was that in every other subject at school, I was one of those hideously annoying people who was top of the class in everything: languages, words, science, and maths was my Achilles heel. And that just left me with this. It was like a mental wall used to come down in my brain where I just thought, I cannot do this. And, the contrast of my lack of belief with maths compared to other subjects was so stark. And it was really hard to break that down. And as it turned out, I was able to do it. I actually ended up with an A in maths, GCSE, and a B in additional maths.
Oh, well, there you go.
But I was pushed through it by my, thankfully, parents who took no notice of my lack of belief and said, yes, of course you can do it. You're a bright girl. We'll get you a tutor. We'll get you some extra support. And I got the pieces of paper. But to this day, I mean, I have lots of freelance colleagues who do their own tax returns.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dream of that. I get an accountant. So,
okay.
I have the proof that I can do it, but I still believe that I can't. That's how strong the anxiety is.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for coming on and taking us through that, Emer. Thank you very much. Emer O'Hagan, freelance writer and mum of two. And we were talking to Bobby Seagull as well there, who is a maths teacher and, of course, a broadcaster as well. Thank you very much. It is 10:55.
Jam? What's a fat jam?
Yo, Friday, June 18th, SEG presents Russell Simmons Fat Jam live, starring Run DMC, Silk, Onyx, Redman, and Bart. Friday, June 18th, Russell Simmons Fat Jam live, only on pay-per-view cable TV.
Now, Doctor Who has been on our screens for 62 years. It's always been a BBC staple, but the previous series and the next have been co-produced with streaming service Disney+. And speculation over the future of the nostalgic series has prompted the BBC to deny rumours the show is being cancelled. So what does the future hold for the Time Lord? Joining us this morning is our TV critic, Scott Bryan. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right. What does the future hold for the Time Lord? Is time up for
that's
the Time
a big question,
Lord?
isn't it? Well, I mean, that is the big question, because I think, like, The Sun had a report to say that Ncuti Gatwa, who is the Doctor, is eyeing an exit after the current series. But not just that, a collaboration between the BBC and Disney Plus might not be renewed past the second series. And I mean, that has, of course, led to a lot of speculation about what will the future of Doctor Who be. Now, the BBC has denied reports that Doctor Who is being shelved. They've also sort of not commented on the future of storylines in regards to Ncuti as well. But I think what is, I guess, surprising is that normally what happens is when a TV show is about to make a new series, they would already make the next series in production. They would already start the third series if a second series is on the way. And that is the case. The second series of Doctor Who is due to take place quite soon, in the next month or so. So you would expect there to be filming already underway for Series 3. But but both sides, both Disney and the BBC, have said, well, they're not really going to announce whether there's going to be a renewal, a new deal, until after the second series airs. So even if it all goes ahead and Disney are happy and the BBC are happy to press ahead, that means that we're not going to have a third series potentially for quite some time, maybe 2026 or 2027. So I think that's why there's just been a lot of speculation of exactly, how well is Doctor Who performing, and also kind of what the future of the programme might be.
Yeah, and what were your thoughts then on the Disney deal? Was it a good thing for Doctor Who? And if Disney then pull out, do the BBC then have to commit to making it themselves, and that might not be possible?
Well, that is a big question, because what we've been having in the TV industry in recent years is a real increase in the cost of making programmes. And part of that is due to inflation. That's sort of really affected premium dramas. In the BBC's case, you've also had the licence fee going up below the rate of inflation too. So it means essentially you're not able to make as many programmes. But at the same time, you've been having viewer expectation, thanks to the arrival of streaming services, of really premium programming, shows that cost hundreds of millions. Yeah. So it's for the BBC's benefit, I think, having a collaboration with a big streamer, because you also get international distribution. You're able to have a global event. So I mean, there could certainly be a scenario if Disney pull out that the BBC would be going it solely. That's what they had done before. But I guess also there is the big question, in light of maybe the ratings, about whether it would be sustainable in its current form. So I think, generally you would have to have a collaboration with another player internationally. That's the same case with many dramas. I guess it's just down to whether any streamer would want to, if Disney decides that it's no longer for them.
Yeah. OK, thank you very much for that. That's our TV critic, Scott Bryan, there this morning. What does the future hold for the Time Lord?